Jajaran dah mas.
Maksudnya mas secara nih mas.
Ini rokok nopo?
Di kucing tok merah setunggal.
Nana có từ lấy trên đặt.
Really going to come down to the gold laners. I think that SRG is going to be leaning in towards this Beatrix in the early game. So expect your junglers to either be going off on an island of their own, or as soon as the gold laners are 50% HP, you see them flying across the map to save them.
Yeah, I agree. SRG is going to make sure that Innocent has a great time here, because we all know how painful Beatrix can be once she gets a little bit of a lead. That means they have to be the most careful around the early stages when Amal is going to be flying around on this Fanny.
Yeah, the mid lane dynamic did change with the picks now swapping sides, so now SRG kind of gets that priority to move, and also potentially thanks to Yoons walking up and being able to zone out away, thanks to the early trade on the turret. We'll see if Homeboys can kind of facilitate Udio to have him move around and join these skirmishes early on.
He should be able to get. He should be able to join these skirmishes, but I think the problem right now is they don't know where Homeboys is going to be playing from. Right? Are they going to be playing a very supportive style of delaying this game until Soul gets to that critical mass, or are they going to play around Amal as a spearhead to kind of divert attention away from Soul?
Yeah, that's gonna be the job of Yums to make sure he's able to find out. They picked up this Grok to counter the Cho as you put Gideon during the draft. So, as long as he's able to keep an eye on Homeboys' rotations, Red Giants will be able to proceed at their own pace. So it is up to the Homeboys to see if they can outspeed.
Amal does show up, massive damage dealt. Muscle guy's gonna respond with his own Tempest Ablaze, first blood not claimed! Sliver of health on both sides, but actually, final hit, I believe, from the minions took him out. First blood again for Homeboys.
So sad, so very, very sad for SRG, but great for the Homeboys, right? This means that they don't have to worry about the Link for a little bit, and more importantly, Link doesn't have his purple buff, so they don't need to worry about him being able to fly across the map.
Yeah, it was a very greedy timing. That has ended up costing Red Giants somewhat. We see Yums trying to mess with the purple, not able to steal.
Like the penalty zone as Udio going down without any ultimate to work with. Maybe Homeboys can respond. Final slash goes wide. Stolen final slash. Stormy stops him out in his tracks. Cable damage not sufficient. Stormy gets away. Slightly Brenner does not connect. And when SRG respond with one of their own, Mao does have to wield the dragon. We'll save it for next time.
Oh man, he felt it. He felt the draft that whistle right past it. This turtle falls into the hands of SRG, which is great, but now Innocent, he needs to maintain this lane. He's got that level lead onto Soul for now, but he really needs to kill Soul in lane. If he kills him once in lane, that should be more than enough for him to get at least tier 1 as well as tier 2.
But it's also not an absolutely necessary thing to do. Innocent roaming the mid lane and then using ult to clear the minions mid actually did give him a good amount of gold lead, and that's probably why he's out leveling Soul right now as well. Did give him a good amount of gold lead, and that's probably why he's out leveling Soul right now as well. Yum's already in position, is anticipating Amal to maybe go for the gold lane, so Innocent's gonna be safe from that.
I mean, essentially the Guardian, right? You protect two people at once. Stormy's gonna feel that pressure a bit. Kick. And Stormy gonna be going to his ultimate. You find the kick still there though. Grab again, locking two people down with the penalty zone, forcing Udio to go into his own ultimate. Coming out as well. Stormy couldn't get the chase. In fact, top side, Sudguys goes down to Soul.
Sky is overextending more than once now and giving Soul a solo kill when he was already behind in lane. That's gonna catch him up to Innocent quite a bit. And this is not what you expect from the Sky Prince.
Oh, not expected at all. Innocent does get a Sky Piercer this time around to finish off his targets. Really makes you wonder. Really makes you wonder how confident he is in like making this happen. Like, oh, getting one auto attack in shouldn't be that much of an issue.
Well, it's more of, I wonder if it's possible to one-shot someone with the Renner's Apathy. Like, could you proc Sky Piercer 100-0 with that one shot?
I doubt he's...
He did miss it, unfortunately.
I mean, give it like 10 more minutes, right? When you get the BOD, and we'll find out soon.
Yume's gonna scout things out. We are definitely gonna see a pivot from the Red Giants now. Sky's already having 2 deaths, definitely can't play as aggressive, so they will most likely focus to playing around Innocent's damage instead, especially with the Sky Piercer, and give Skies a little bit of time to farm back up.
Speaking of which, it looks like Homeboy's going to be contesting it. They're going to be contesting 4v5? Wait, where is Harry? Wait, where is... Oh, there you go.
Oh, aim out. An attempt. Mao gets a kick away. This should be a kill onto Innocent.
Oh!
Mao charge a bit late from Yumes. Out of turret range, so Mao is fine. Backup showing up from SRG. Flicker penny, so what a catch from Crab. Making sure Mao goes down. Blocked off by the wall, but it's fine. Looking for a retreat right now. To take plenty of damage from Mao. Crab bobbing, weaving, Stormy keeping him safe. Goes into the stolen ultimate. The Nightmare respawn as Sakai finally shows up to try and take out Fudio. Stunned up by Waf. Sakai wants to go on the chase. They commit onto it. Sakai finally gets the kill. Doesn't go down. Mao cleans it up and Waf doesn't even die in the process. Scrappy fight from both sides and Waf traded his life. I mean, all of that. So did get bot tier 1.
Absolute chaos coming in from both these teams right now, but we are seeing light from the homeboys. Amal seems very comfortable on the Fanny, able to jump in and out, punishing both Innocent and Skies, dying for the 3rd time in this game. Red Giants do not have a lead.
It's still rough if you're Yumes, right? The damage from Udio really starting to be felt by the Grok. There's a natural enemy. There's not really an answer to even with the Radiant Armor that you eventually get for himself if he hasn't yet. The protection needs to be granted to Innocent.
For how long though? Because even though they are able to zone people out, right? As long as they have Udil, and especially with that Nightmaric spawn, it's really difficult to kind of like ignore it. It forces you to address the situation.
You gotta somehow address Soul, who has had plenty of free time for the past couple of minutes. Takes the bot tier 1 and now tier 2 gives it over to Amao. Uncontested, in fact. Now I'm pretty sure he's recovered when you compare him to Innocent.
Yeah, Amal is doing a great job right now. 1 level up on Sky, stealing his orange buff. Sky is no longer strong enough to challenge the 1v1.
Catch Cram first, Amao shows up. But he just targeted, but a flicker kick from Mao. Counter engage with the penalty zone. Great Banner's Rage to go for the kill. Mao goes down, but Stormy follows. Sakai now, it's his turn to join the fight. While being the target, it should be an easy kill for Sakai. SRG finding 2 in the process, and Udio might be next on the menu. Amao, something to say about it. Flicker from Cram, looks for Udio, swing at the hammer. SRG finding 3.
Oh, you guys wanted entertainment? You guys are getting entertainment. The homeboys are putting up a fight, a brand new roster against the MSC champions. Currently only 1k net worth in advantage of the Selangor Red Giants. As long as the homeboys can continue playing around Amal and Soul, who has been free farming this whole time, they have a genuine chance of bringing this to a game 3.
Speaking of which, I'm hoping that SRG has some means. Oh, did he win that out? Yeah, he did win that red tree out.
A little bit of payback there.
A little bit, but 10 seconds until the Lord actually spawned. So at this point, homeboys, they just need to do some house cleaning and then eventually just sit right underneath the Lord at that point of time. But we'll see. We'll see. The timers are just not right. 8 seconds to 17. I don't think they can do it within... Wait, that's a 7-second, 8-second difference. So I don't think that's going to be enough time to rush it down.
Even Homeboys probably understands that Soul is approaching critical mass, right? He's at the point where he can literally just 2-shot most people on SRG's side, given the freedom that he has. Now even ahead in terms of level 1 compared to Innocent.
Yep, this is looking like a very tight series. Amal even able to get another free tower up top. The mobility of this Fanny allowing him to manipulate the map the same way the Red Giants did to them in game number 1. And Skies has to do housekeeping.
So to keep watching out for Mao as well. Flicker up. into a kick. That could change the dynamic of the game. Conceal out from SRG, looking for an engage, could not find it.
Okay, that's not bad. I mean, Conceal is out, and now Homeboys know that they don't have a Conceal. They can still play responsibly. They just need to hover around here for as long as possible. Every minute that passes by is just going to be a little bit more farm that Soul is able to amass.
And Homeboys were waiting for the purple buff to respawn as well, so that Amal would be able to fight with it. Is gonna be able to get it, no problem, making sure to defend the entrances against the red giants. Once Amal has this buff, it will be go time. Homeboys will have the freedom to engage, especially if they see Skies in the top lane.
And the tension is palpable, and even Skies can't really man-fight Amal at this point of time. As much as their levels or experience almost the same, Amal definitely having a way better time in this game, forcing Skies to deal with the wave up top while the rest of SRG dances around the Lord Pit.
Yep, it's a good idea because they're trying to prompt the response out of Homeboys, right? If any of the ults are going to get thrown at Slam or Red Giant, then Cram or maybe even Yubs are going to be the ones that take it. But for now, you can just chill because there's no real reason to walk up yet until it's below maybe 45 to 30% of the Lord's health.
Well, it's getting there. They're gonna start.
Stormy is gonna use a Nightmare Respawn, forces Soul to use his ultimate, and they just catch him in the back. Good trigger finger, and Guys wins the retry fight. And all SRG needs is one moment to tip the scales, two to go down along with it. Amal able to recall back. Cram almost missed us with the hammer, but SRG wrestle back control.
A bit of a positioning mistake here from the Homeboys. It's fine to have Soul whittle down the Lord, but it didn't seem like they were ready to respawn to protect him, and Stormy just chased him down without the Natan. Homeboys is missing a lot of their damage, so they're not going to be able to get that objective.
For now, I mean, if they are going to start looking to crack open these objectives, it's definitely closer to 15 minutes. Because until we see some of these... Wait, hold on. Sakai's is going to take his purple. He's going to come around on the top side to take top tier 2. So Homeboys, they need to delay this. They need to either protect their top tier 2 and send somebody down to the bot side.
He did clear out the mid wave, so it's a bit of a desync in the minion wave. Amal, so prepping top side. I think that's where Homeboys want to attack first. Amal's going to lead the charge, but at the same time, SRG will assume that jungle control. Yoom's also being a pain to deal with. That wall making life hard. Penalty zone from Cram only onto WAP. Follow-up Bandit's Rage does miss. So Homeboys takes care of the Lord and then proceeds to take care of the minion wave. Very well done.
Kind of surprised Yooms didn't go for Soul there. It felt like he was very out of position compared to the rest of his team, and he did have wall charge, but looks like Red Giants have their sights on the tower instead. Will be able to take down the tier 2 up top and continue pressuring lanes.
I mean, even Sakai still feeling the heat from Amal, right? Amal was just looking for an angle. So side lane tier 2s are down. SRG looking for the mid one. This could be a bit harder considering that Soul has cleared out most of the minion wave to just settle for that. But it's a big goal swing. SRG a 5.2, 5.3k advantage.
And honestly, not that bloody not as bloody just yet, right? You still have about 10, well, sorry, 10 is a bit of an over-exaggeration. 5 more kills, 6 more kills until we get the previous score. But up until then, let's look at the items because I'm seeing BODs already purchases. The Malefic Roar, super important as well. Start cutting through some of the thicker boys.
Innocent already has 3 items, but Soul is actually still slightly ahead of him in terms of farm. So this Natan is still a threat for the Red Giants. The fact that Stormy took him out right at the beginning in that previous fight is the only reason they were able to come out on top. So Homeboys needs to make sure they have a hold on things.
Like a wild charge, and that is follow-up with the penalty zone. Catching the most important target. Zaymao goes down. The guys wants a bit more. Actually, he gets pulled underneath the turret. At least a dash in. He ends up getting traded. I mean, both junglers going down. Not that bad for Homeboys.
Good coordination again, Red Giants. You see the... Oh, wow, look at that damage. Luckily, not low enough to proc the Sky Piercer, or that would have not felt good.
Yeah,
so did build quite some armor.
They have... there's so many things to worry about in this game. Finally, the Winds of Nature is purchased by Innocent just to keep himself alive from Amal, I guess. Wait, Stormy!
Stormy taking so much damage. What a flicker Jit Kundo! And a good follow-up from Wudil to confirm that kill. Cram with the penalty zone is just not enough. They do lose Mount thanks to Innocent. A good final slash. Waff with the catch. Homeboys respond with 3 of their own.
Yep, WAF being the X factor in this game, making it tough, and I think this is where we see Homeboys actually start with the comeback.
Yeah, that was a huge mistake from the Red Giants. Stormy got too greedy, and Udil knew the timing was right, but Skies is still gonna try and contest.
And so even forcing out the Tempest of Laser, guys. Not a spot you want to be in. Email comes back in time for the second Lord of the game, and Homeboy is prepared to make a counterattack.
Good stuff, good stuff. That's what you want to see from the Homeboys. Decisive action. They could have technically sent somebody to deal with this bottom wave much earlier on, but they said, no, we are blitzing. We need every capable body to protect the Lord Pit at all costs, because it's the only way we're going to be coming back into this game in a reasonable fashion.
Yeah, it was a very fragile balance earlier, but Homeboys have finally managed to crack that door open, and they are keeping themselves in this match. There is a whole Lord for the Red Giants to deal with, and while they have more towers standing than the Homeboys, it's actually not all that much thanks to Amal split pushing the entire game. They can no longer afford to be as greedy as they were.
The rest of Homeboys are awakened, right? Game 1 was a lot primarily about Mao, but we also saw Mao making the play, Udo following up, and even whilst having one of the most crucial moments in that game, in this fight back. Gonna catch Mao though, good Shunpo dodge. And Cram surely sacrifice, final slash, doesn't connect, and Cram somehow gets away, but it's enough to allow Homeboys to escort the Lord in front of the base. At the same time, Udo does get forced away, no Purify in hand, and the snipe doesn't connect Udo, using that ultimate just for security purposes. First inhibitor down for SRG.
This is looking difficult here. A lot of ultimates were used by SRG, but the Lord is gone. Can Homeboys end this?
They're gonna try. So guys, he's already down. Debuter's passion not enough, so just taps the crystal, and Homeboys gives us game 3.
Woo! Good stuff coming in from the Homeboys. Play around your item spikes, know exactly what you're willing to trade, make decisive moves, money moves for the Homeboys.
The energy is electric, and while there are smiles on both sides of the stage, you can really see this revitalize the Homeboys. This is a brand new roster, a last-minute roster set by Mal himself, and despite that, they have taken a game from the MSC champions.
Craziest thing was that Mao was in the roster for the longest of time, but it took a dang long time for him to play on the main stage and set it up to win a game against SRG.
And I think that if they're going to continue in this trajectory, I think it's a very good look. You can see the excitement on Udil's face when it happened.
And I mean, it's fair to say the crowd, or at least the Flame Boys, are much louder than the Red Giants themselves. Really tells you how important that win was, right? It's not a series win yet, but to draw blood in that fashion is something else.
It is a true cause for excitement because the Red Giants were playing comfort picks. You had Skies on Ling, Stormy on his signature, you had Yums on Grok making a lot of space across the map, and despite that, they were still able to catch out the Red Giants. They were able to punish them for their over-aggression, for their mistakes. This is one of the probably worst performances we've seen from the Red Giants in a while, and it is against a brand new lineup.
I think there's nothing wrong to be taking games specifically off of SRG. I think it's a good thing, in a matter of fact, right? Because you won't know where you are weak until you start losing games, if not series. And I think that everybody is kind of painted the target on SRG's back. It's like, you win MSC, I guess we'll forget about you. No, they're millionaires technically. They gotta know their place.
But if we can take a series off of the world champions, what does that make us, right?
Champion contenders, perhaps. But that is going to be a huge push from the back for the Homeboys, allowing them to see what they are capable of, even if their players may not have had as much time together as before. Like, I think we already talked about this as well. SRG is not a flawless team. There are times when they make mistakes. There are times when they overheat a little bit, get over-aggressive, and we saw that a lot. Skies dying 3 times in the early game is unprecedented on a hero like Ling.
I think like the first one was still okay, right? We tried to go for the dive. Yeah, cast them in instantly up. Sure. But the solo kill from So, I think that one really starts to kind of raise some flags that, oh my goodness, what is happening? And you can see, I mean, Homeboys capitalized on that.
It is a bit of a feels bad, of course, but it's nothing to be too shattered about, right? Because again, it's still a good amount of damage, and it just goes to show that, hey, even when the homeboys may not be at their strongest, Soul as an individual player has what it takes to take me out. And I think that's something that they're going to be walking away with in this matchup.
Something to learn, right? You give him his signature pick and give him the enough space, and so MP the king or not, so is his own king.
Let's have a look at the highlights here for a very unexpected game. Early stages went alright, pretty even on both sides, but Amal being as active as he was made a huge difference for the homeboys, forcing them in defensive positions where Mal could just jump into the backline and pick people off.
Well, that's under a couple of assumptions. But let's look at our MVP of this game here. Give it up for Emma. Well-deserved MVP of the game as well. Being able to not only open up space, but honestly finding some great angles.
Yeah, I mean, that as well. He had to also contend with not being caught by Cram's penalty zone, which was a bit of a thorn in his side. But homeboys, again, they realized, okay, Soul is in a very good spot. Now we just need to start forcing SRG to expend their resources. And once they found that moment, I think it started with Mal and then with Waf. And then Soul was like, all right, this is my time. It all culminated to a win. But the early to mid phase, Amal all the way.
We have always wondered, has all his time spamming Fredrin dulled Amal on Assassin Heroes? And turns out we had nothing to worry about at all. This Fanny was a problem right from the get-go. And we also have to give props to the drafting, getting rid of heroes like Ruby and Kufra, and then denying the Cho away. Didn't leave Red Giants a lot of heroes to be able to easily capture the Fanny.
Yeah, no direct answers. It's more so, you better outplay me if you want to win this game, right? So really good job coming in from Coach Jeff to set their players up for victory. It really makes this game number 3 a lot more exciting.
Yeah, especially when Udyr set expectations at the very beginning, right? Before the match, it's like, if we lose, I'm sorry if we do go down. But hey, it's something to celebrate. It's a big morale boost. Especially, I mean, you look at Udyr's KD, it's not the prettiest, but then at least game 2, there is a bit of that upsurge, right? He's able to provide in other facets.
It demonstrates that even though Udyr already set expectations initially, saying that, oh, if we don't live up to expectations, then I apologize. But they're not just going to take that and say, oh, we're just going to sit back and allow Red Giants to steamroll over us either. They were playing their hearts out. They were making sure to punish every single mistake they could find. Every single time Skies or Stormy was overextended, they got taken out, and that is how you dismantle a team.
I think also pre-preparation as well. I do think that like both homeboys and as well as SRG have done a lot of homework on each other. I was expecting a couple of different picks on both sides, maybe to kind of show what they've been working on in the off season. But it seems to me everybody seems to be at the top of their game.
I think that Natan is kind of a pick that might have been overlooked by SRG, right? It did fall off the radar for quite a while already. And homeboys being able to pick it up. Almost sort of like a last resort, because you look at Carry, you look at Claude, doesn't feel as good. Happens to be Soul's kind of a signature hero. But hey, so far, Red Side has been taking the dub.
I mean, Red Side has been doing really, really well. I wish I could say that very confidently if SRG were to play a more... I can't even say like Beatrix is not meta. She is technically, but in certain situations. I just don't think that this was one of the situations you want to put her in. Because it's like, hey, my composition, we're good at team fighting, assuming we hit all of our abilities.
Oh, plenty of time. Innocent's ability just skirted the edges, right? You see those bombardments, it doesn't connect. And once you run out of that ultimate cooldown, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, it really doesn't, which is why Homeboys has more flexibility in terms of their fights, where SRG is more execution heavy.
And usually that's fine. SRG has a lot of self-confidence in themselves, in their teammates, so going for these heavy execution lineups is usually not a big problem for them. So I think this was a little bit of underestimation of what the Homeboys were really capable of. And Beatrix is still a very solid pick, especially if you win the lane. I think they were prepared for Natan somewhat. You saw Skies wanting to go for that early game, pick him off multiple times, but they were not expecting the retaliation. And that put them behind, which was not within calculations.
Yeah, you can kind of see how it slowly fell apart, right? Like even the top side fight early game, very, very scrappy. You know, it's a bit of a late wild charge from Yum. Sure, it resulted in even trade, and then they had that big Lord moment, but afterwards, when Homeboys mounted the counter-attack, you see SRG kind of slowly losing that pacing a little bit, getting caught out in weird positions. Innocent was alone, Cram taking an engage and getting melted by
Why
Udio
don't I
afterwards.
just
Something that I think SRG would have to think about.
Well, I think it's about regrouping mentally, right? Because there are definitely moments where you have a direct plan of action, but if something, you throw a spanner into the middle of the mix, things get a little awkward. You have that 0.5 seconds of like, oh, what do I do next? And that's where you can get punished.
Yeah, Selangor Red Giants as a team have built a lot of success off of a total willingness to just throw resources in to make something happen. But when those resources don't translate into anything, you end up in an issue where they've overcommitted and they don't really have anything left. I think the most obvious case of this was at the very end where they used like a whole bunch of ultimates just to try and pick Mal off before the fight and didn't succeed, so they had nothing left for the Lord push.
I don't know, because if I was in the coach's position and told my players that, and my players looked at me and just said, but coach, we gave everything. We did everything. I'll be like, you're not wrong, but like, come on, man.
Ironically, it does give you a bit of that husk of homeboys where that's kind of what the old homeboys lineup loves to do, right? Or used to do a lot. The current Vamos lineup where they also like to throw resources. They're willing to do that. And if it doesn't translate into a win, well, too bad.
It's a risky playstyle, don't get me wrong, right? It's definitely not one of those cool, calm, collected of like, oh, if I put 500 gold here and one item here, this is going to get us a net profit of 2.6k at the end of the fight. Like, it's not until that crazy, but you definitely get the idea of, hey, let's just chill, slow down for a little bit, because that's what happened for Homeboys. In the first, at least when we're looking at the graph, first 6 minutes of the game, definitely leaning slightly closer and closer towards their side, but eventually Homeboys was able to bounce back pretty handedly as well, despite having a pretty bad goal deficit.
Yeah, you look at the 12-minute mark, right? That's where the Lord kind of got taken by SRG. They made that big play, 5.3k goal advantage. Dips back down thanks to Homeboy's kind of individual performance again. Mal and Waf. And they ended the game with a neutral state.
Yep. Like, it was great. Like, we call out Mal for being the MVP and Sol for doing a great job of farming, but Mal and Waf really redeemed themselves here compared to the performance in Game 1. The way that they were completely separating the members of the Red Giants and disrupting their battle flow was a key reason for why Red Giants just didn't seem to be able to perform as they usually would.
It did answer a question I posed earlier, right? The building blocks for Mal. How is the team going to play around it? Is this it? Well, we're seeing glimpses of that.
Well, I haven't forgiven both of them just yet. Like, give them one more game. Give them one more game. You never know whether it's just like, oh, it's one of those hero picks where they're so insane at whenever they touch it, but everything else doesn't go as well. I want to see some level of consistency because we lack a lot of that here in MPL MY besides SRG. That's always going to be the conclusion of my sentences. Besides SRG, inconsistency.
I mean, saying that after Game 2 feels a bit weird.
But I get where he's coming from. It's always a possibility because we've seen so many teams in the past here at MPL Malaysia. The first couple of weeks, they are popping off. But then you realize, oh, if we just ban these few heroes, they don't actually do all that much. But before we jump into the final game, once again, we will have an off-stage segment. So we'll throw it over to Rose.
Hi semua, welcome back to the MPL Offstage by Hotlink. Dan sekarang ni kita bersama dengan Mr. Simon. Hello, sir.
Hi, Rose.
How are you doing?
I'm good. After the second game, not so good.
Oh, not so good. Oh, you? Okay. Okay, tak adalah. We just want to know, selepas Snapdragon Pro Series, how did SRG actually manage to rest? What did you guys do during your holiday?
Okay, the boys budak-budak dia dapat cuti 10 hari. So masing-masing balik kampung, everyone. And I think dia orang dapat banyak healing lah. If you see their Instagram, Yams dengan Sky pergi Thailand.
Ya, ada yang pergi Thailand, ada yang pergi beach.
Yeah.
A lot of things lah.
Yeah, and then after that we reward them lah. 3 hari dekat Cherating Club Med. So they had a very wonderful fun.
Okay, now for this season kan, kita boleh nampak daripada lineup ataupun roster of SRG mana you guys did not change or add any new players. So adakah, in your opinion, is this like your all-star lineup and you guys are not planning to change in the near future?
For this lineup, actually, for lineup decision is my technical team, which is Becky and Arcadia. So the coaches cakap, why fix things that's not broken. So dia kata they are confident with this lineup. Dia kata this lineup can go further some more. I say okay, let's do it.
Oh, I like that. Don't fix what isn't broken. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Simon. Good luck to the boys for this game. And with that, let's show it back to the casters to start the game 3 of this series.
I really do like that line. Don't fix what isn't broken. We've seen so many times across the seasons of MPL that when a team isn't performing, players just get swapped out on the spot without really being given much of a chance to prove that chemistry over a longer duration of time. SRG, they already won an MSC. Even if they may not be performing quite as well after that, you still want to work on this main roster, don't you?
I mean, staying at the top is actually the hardest thing to do, right? First is about winning, and then it's about continuously winning. And I think SRG, they've achieved the pinnacle, I think, in competitive Mobile Legends, barring an M series, and that itself is already tough to make. And now, they just need to constantly stay at that level.
Yeah, I think that everybody needs to make sure when you are a champion, when you are wearing that crown, it does get pretty heavy.
It does get pretty heavy, but it also means that we get to see some very, very important people come on in and grace MPL MY with their presence. And it's great to see more of a spotlight coming in on esports, having people outside get a little bit of a taste of what competition is all about. But as we jump into game number 3, Husky, what does SRG need to fix?
I think SRG, funnily enough, I think it's just kind of that early to mid-game management, right? The main downfall in Game 2 was just that Sakai's didn't get out to a good start and we didn't really see the recovery afterwards. But everything else, I felt like it was good. I mean, it was solid enough, barring those minute mistakes.
I'm a little bit on the fence on this one because I do think that yes, they are doing the correct moves like they usually do. They're playing their standard game up to that 12-minute mark where yes, they are getting the Lord, they're winning their objectives, they're somewhat winning their lane. I can't even confidently say like completely dominating it because they're not. But I do think that when it comes to mid to late, the regrouping is a little slow. I do think that they kind of like let go a little bit too much on the slack, especially when they're almost at the peak.
I can see where you're coming from. I feel like Red Giants, because they've been in such comfortable positions in their games for so long, they've gotten a little bit used to being able to split apart and do things across the map on their own. Usually when something needs to happen, they are able to regroup in time and make sure they are all together to contest objectives. But what if they're not the ones dictating the momentum? What if the enemy team is controlling the tempo? Then you see issues where if something happens too quickly, Red Giants are not usually together enough to make something happen.
Actually, you can look back at SPS, right? When Team Liquid Philippines and FCAP beat them, it's kind of the same scenario where SRG, they get comfortable and then they forget to kind of do some housekeeping, and the kind of homeboys did the same thing, capitalize on them.
Yep, capitalization, very important, but for game number 3, looks like SRG has decided to go back onto the red side of the draft. So far, 100% win rate this match. Let's see if it's really the side that makes the difference or if homeboys have figured out the winning formula.
Well, that's under the assumption that the bans are going to change sometime soon because we've been seeing the exact same bans for the past couple of games already, whether it be blue side or red side. They're not really changing it up. Well, I mean, the most that they did change was like the Zhuxian, but we'll see the ban probably here, right, by SRG.
I mean, homeboys banning out the phobias already is a bit of a adjustment, right? You take out the phobias so SRG doesn't get 2 power picks in their first phase. But is Zhuxian necessary? I feel like you probably will be looking at potentially a Fanny ban again. That's what they did in game number 1.
I think if they do decide to go, actually no, they don't even need to ban out the Fanny. They just need to change the order of their first 3 picks to include something that actually deals with it. Whether it be a Kufra, you would have to sacrifice the anonymity, for lack of words, the unknown of what the roamer is going to be. You have to reveal it straight away.
So they do ban the Zaz.
Oh, so they're changing it up. Okay.
Okay.
So they want Zhuxian unless Coach Jeff is like, guys, we get to play Zhuxian.
I mean, it doesn't really feel nice to kind of first pick the Kufra, right? So that
Yeah,
that
definitely not.
it's a consideration that I think SR needs to think about.
It feels like bait, right? Because when you ban Zask and you're not first pick, you are basically telling the enemy team the first pick is in.
Not
Do you want-
necessarily.
They can take Ling again.
I mean, Udil's probably looking at Amal and is just like, come on, bro. And Amal's looking back at him and is like, but I did stuff on Fanny.
Look at my KD. you know?
Who's the MVP last game, nerd? gotta keep it, in line. But yes, that's gonna be the Jushin as the first pick from the Homeboys. I want to see what types of pairings that Homeboys want to put with the Jushin. It's been very interesting looking at the other MPLs to see what they combine it with. Others have decided to go for the Jushin Glue, which is my personal favorite. Others go for like the traditional hard CC.
Oh,
Like the penalty.
wow.
I mean,
The direct letter of challenge from the Red Giants.
good luck catching these two with the Jushin.
Oh boy.
And it also kind of deals with a potential glue pick, right? With the amount of mobility that these two have.
Not entirely wrong, but that's not the only thing that they have to worry about, right? Because this does opt a couple of new things. Oh man, they already locked in their jungler. I was hopefully trying to bring up the point that maybe even a tank jungler could have been pretty decent in these types of spots as well. Arlen, alright, fine, good substitute, that's fine with me.
And bring back Amal Frederick. I believe that's where we're going.
Yeah. I was leading into it. I was setting it up. I almost had it as well.
I don't know how to feel about going back to those days. We had tank junglers for way too long, but I think this is fine. Tank junglers are usually the counter you would go when the enemy has something like a Fanny, but nowadays you really do need the extra damage from those assassin junglers. You make up for it in the EXP lane. In this case, having the Arlet to deal with the Fanny is helpful, but you're going to need a little bit more. The Ruby and Kufra were banned by Red Giants in the second phase last game. We'll see if they decide to do the same this time.
I mean, unless SRG throws the oddball and, put this Cho in that XP lane. We've seen it from a couple of players, right? Like Sanford, for example. You give a concussive blast, build tank, and he becomes that mobile secondary support. I don't think we've ever seen it from SRG yet, so it's safe to say that it's in the hands of Yums. Again, the responsibility goes back to Cram. Like, what does he get in the second phase?
I don't know. Might as well go wild, right? Just give him Vendetta or something. Just like
Ruby
go
and-
challenge it,
They did give him Ruby a few times, and Coach Ark has some reservations about that choice.
And I kind of like the Ruby though. SRG have first pick in the second phase. They can go Ruby. They can even flex it actually if they want to avoid